Hey everybody, welcome back to Electric Cafe. Today's album review is on Tangerine Dream's 1977 album Cyclone. This is my first album review on Tangerine Dream, so please understand that when I do my ratings, I do my ratings based in their genre and based on other. Also, I take into account other albums within that genre, not necessarily for my final ranking, but as once I rank all the albums, it's kind of in the category. I have rock and jazz, I have electronic, I have new wave, and then yeah, I guess that's all. Yeah, I mean that's all I'm putting in right now. I may do a separate industrial one slash EBM. I'm not sure if I'll do that. I might keep it in electronic, but if I give this a rating, it's you would have to compare it to electronic albums. So if I have Peter Gabriel as a 62 and I rate this one a 67, for example, it doesn't mean I like this better than Peter Gabriel, but it's based on my electronic albums. I rate electronic music a little bit differently. It's instrumental music. It's different. Than rating a rock album. If I gave a Jay Giles band album a 60 and I gave Gary Newman a 60, then you'd be like, oh, he likes Peter Gabriel the same as, or I mean, he likes Jay Giles the same as Gary Newman. No, it's based upon, you would compare those rock albums, to each other, not the electronic to rock side or new wave to rock side. I'm trying to keep them separate just to make it a little easier for myself because it's not as necessary in rock into rock, jazz, and even new wave. But it is important, I think, with electronic music, and that's my favorite style of music, and with instrumental music especially, it's really hard to rate to begin with, and rating something a 3 star versus something that's a rock 3 star. I would think generally the rock 3 star is wouldn't say it's a better song because what I mean, but it's probably um, I don't know, like it's hard to say, like wouldn't say maybe more impactful because I'm harder on rock songs than I would on an electronic music song. But a track could be an ambient track like Tangerine Dream and it'd be 3 stars and it really not too much. But I just like the tones of it and I like the emotion of it, right? But that's fairly basic compared to rating a rock song, which has a lot going on. And I rate that 3 star. I would be a little bit more impressed by a 3 star rock song than a 3 star electronic song. But that doesn't mean that it's favored more so than electronic song. It's just I think rating electronic music is hard. I don't know if I get if I'm more biased to it. So what I do like I rate better. I don't know if it's really all that, but I just feel like as I'm doing these reviews, like I feel like I should keep them separate and sort of at least kind of keep them in some categories versus just kind of doing all because again, if you rated Depeche Mode versus the Cult, that's really hard to say one's better than the other, right? But that's what you're going to do when you see the score. So I'm trying to keep rock separate and electronic second, separate and of course jazz and new wave. So it's still a work in progress. I'm still doing this as we go here. So some things will change. You never know. But excuse me. So we're gonna look at my notes for the Tangerine Dream album. Cyclone came out in 1977. So in 1977, Peter Baumann left Tangerine Dream, and Chris Frank came back, and Steve Joliffe. Um, Also, of course, you have the regular members, Edgar Froese and Klaus Schultz. Um, Two of the most recognized, most consistent members of Tangerine Dream. I'm a big fan of the Virgin Records years, which is their time on Virgin Records, which is roughly I don't know 72 to like '86, I think, and that's my favorite period of Tangerine Dream. I do definitely want to check out the last 10 or 15 years as they've added like Ulrich Schnoz, I'm a fan of, and um, some of the other members that they've added. I'm curious to hear them, uh, but I haven't really got around to hearing any of those yet. But I'm a huge fan of the early period. Not so much the prog rock. I do like more the ambient, but I this is a good balance of both. I'll say that. So I like ambient music more than prog rock, but I like prog rock as well. I mean, I'm on probably a scale of like 1 to 10. I'm probably sort of like a 2 or a 3 when it comes to like a prog rock knowledge. But I do know some like Hawkwind and Gong and stuff like that. I am kind of aware of psychedelic music and cluster and can, especially more on the electronic side of like Conrad Schnitzel and can and stuff like the cluster. And I said that earlier, but I'm kind of more so on the electronic side than the prog rock side, the more electronic prog rock side, I should say. But I'm fairly knowledgeable about it, but again, I'm probably like a 2 or 3 compared to like a prog rock fan. So bear with me on any prog rock references that I give. Again, I'm more on the ambient side. Um, but Cyclone is the 11th album by Tangerine Dream. They put out a lot of work. I think they first came out in like '68 or '69, and 11 albums in 8 or 9 years. Um, this is their first really to feature proper vocals and lyrics in a song, and Steve Jolliffe kind of brought that to them, and for the good and the bad. Some people like it, some people don't. It's a point of contention for a lot of people when they listen to this album. In fact, I think it was Edgar Froese or Klaus Schulze. One of them said they never listened to this album. Fortunately they both passed away, but unfortunately, but they did say, one of them said that they never heard this album after they recorded it because they were just so disinterested in having vocals as a part of Tangerine Dream, and thus Steve didn't last long in the band, unfortunately. Um, so yeah, there's only 3 tracks on here, so they're fairly. 2 of them are fairly long. I think first one's around like 13 minutes, second one's 4 minutes, and then the last one's a little bit over 20 minutes. So the first, sorry, this album came out in 1978, not 1977. First track, Bent Cold Sidewalk. I really like the intro, bass line. I think it's a strong song for them, considering it is prog rock. It does sort of have like a Pink Floyd, Moody Blues kind of sound in it. I mean, it does. I mean, I can see why people hate it that are big Tangerine fans. I think it's not bad though. I mean, of course, I prefer the third track, Madrigal Meridian, more. I mean, that's more my liking for Tangerine Dream for sure. But I respect the song. I think his lyrics. Um, I think his lyrics aren't bad. It's definitely unique. Around 5 minutes when it sort of changes, I really like the flute and the sequencer start. A really nice sound with it has good depth. Around 10 minutes, the song sort of comes back in, and it's a really good mix of both. He does have some strange pronunciations in the way he sings. It's a somewhat forced voice, but I don't think it didn't really like. I mean, I wouldn't say it didn't excite me. It didn't pain me. I know that for sure. Did it fully excite me to hear? But I thought it was interesting because every time I hear this album, I find his voice interesting. I don't think it's too over the top or too out of place. I feel like it works in a strange way. Do I like it? I'm in the middle, but I think the song is pretty good overall. I think it is a good mix of prog rock and ambient, especially for the time. It is a unique track for the band. This is a unique album for the band. Comes at a strange time in the band's history, losing Peter Baumann was, he was an important member of the band, and trying somebody different, into the band, and this happens. I think it works. I'm not totally against it, like other people are. Some people really hate this song and really hate a lot of this album because of it. I don't really like the second song for that reason, But Ben Cold Sidewalk, I got it 3.25 stars. I think it's a strong song. I think it's really good. Second track, Rising Runner, Missed by Endless Sender. That's a mouthful. Rising Runner, Missed by Endless Sender. This track doesn't necessarily work for me. I think it's trying to be a little edgy, and it doesn't work for that. I mean, I don't see Tangerine Dream as being edgy. So, the keyboards are nice, but a little too deep in the mix. It's more mixed like a rock album, like a rock song than an electronic song, in a way. It sort of puts the electronic music in the background. It does have a nice sequence part. Bass line, the vocals are a little unique for them for sure, and I guess edgy. I don't dislike this track, but I don't love it. I couldn't say it's good, so I got it right under good, like 1.75 stars. And then the final track, Madrigal Meridian. Some good sounds going on here. I like the crashes on the drumming. So they added a drummer on this one, Klaus Kruger, and I really liked his aggressiveness on the drums and the crashes. I find that really cool addition. The flute is an interesting addition as well, even more so than the vocals. The longest piece on the album is this instrumental closer, which sort of gives a clue on how the album might have sounded before the decision to include vocal was taken. So, this probably would have been this song would have been more the direction of the album if it weren't for the singing on the first two tracks, right? That's kind of what I'm saying with that. I'm reading my notes here, so bear with me. Kind of like Stratosphere, with more acoustic sounds, but without the hooks that made the album so memorable. I especially like the last 5 minutes of the song, though. The flute does work here. It's got a nice soft landing at the end, which I really like. I wish they had more of that, really, in this album. It could have gone on for another 10 minutes and nobody would have cared. They would have appreciated that for sure. The last 5 minutes really worked for me. They really kind of pushed it over the edge for me, saying this is a really good track. I got it 3 stars. So when I add up the stars for the album, I got 8 stars divided by 3, so it's a 2.66 score. When I look at the overall, the good of the album, I think it's a valiant attempt at making a prog rock album. It still ends with a kind of more traditional Tangerine Dream sound in the end, right, with the last track. So it's got a nice mix of both in a way. Some goods are nearing on excellent on the album. Some are near excellent, like the last 5 minutes again of that last track. The opportunities on the album, maybe a blend of styles not committed to. I put a question mark on that. Maybe they didn't really commit to doing it, and so it doesn't work to some people. That could be opportunity. And the middle song isn't great. It's not. I don't think the middle song, the 4-minute song, Probably could have just left it off and kept and extended the first song a little bit, and you would have had their normal one song on each side, like a lot of them, like a lot of the Tangerine Dream albums did around the middle '70s. Just one track per side. I don't think that second song is really needed. The Rising Runner, Missed by Endless Thunder, just I don't think it works. But yeah, overall, 2.66 stars. So I give it a rate. That I mean that score kind of makes sense for the overall. I don't feel like I can really take anything away or add anything additional to the score of the songs themselves, especially considering there's only 3 songs on there. So I feel like that really relates well. The 2.66 stars average relates to the album. So I give it a 62 out of 100. So yeah, 62 out of 100 for their 11th album, Cyclone. I think it's a really good album. I think it's a really good album. Some people are really torn by it. You know, I guess if you really overthink it, maybe I could get in that mind frame where I do feel conflicted about the album. But you definitely have 2 sides of the band on this album, and but I like that they took a chance. I mean, there's plenty of Tangerine Dream albums that do the normal Tangerine Dream thing. I think it's nice to have one that is sort of prog rock, at least a track or two, and sort of one works, one doesn't work for me, but at least they tried it sort of a little bit later in their career, towards the later '70s. Um, considering, but I'd be interested to hear what Edgar or Claus Schultz thought of this album a little bit more in depth. I'd be curious to hear more on that. So I'm probably going to look for that. But yeah, I'm excited to review a lot of the other Tangerine Dream albums. I think if I had to say a top 10 albums of Tangerine Dream, I don't think Cyclone fits in my top 10 Tangerine Dreams albums. But it's close, But I would think for sure that I have quite a few that go into the '70s. When I think about their career, and so yeah, I'm excited to review. This is to review those. This is a original gatefold of album. The cover is apparently the guy who did Fedra also did this painting, so it's kind of similar to Fedra. 1974 Fedra came out. This one's kind of similar in a way, but good album. 62 out of 100. All right. Curious if you have any opinions on this album, or maybe if you'd like to suggest what Tangerine Dream album I should review next. I'd be curious. All right. Thanks so much.